Hi there, and welcome to Amplify Your Influence, Secure Your Seat. I'm Sehaam Cyrene, and I hope you're going to enjoy the next 20 minutes or so. I'm delighted to be part of the Women in Technology World Series that is and now an online festival. So that is brilliant. Let me just do a quick introduction of me. The most important thing, I guess, that you want to know about me in terms of this talk is that I work with leaders and their teams. I help them have better conversations so they can improve productivity, performance, give great feedback. I get involved in things like increasing collaboration, improving culture, and ultimately helping leaders become more influential, more inspiring to their people. So in terms of influence, we need to influence to get stuff done, to advance our careers, right? So we may be in a position where we do have a seat at the table, we do have responsibilities, but at the same time, it's really common to not feel very influential at all. We're not sure how to show up in meetings, how to contribute. We're not really sure where our peers sit. Are we aligned to them? Do they share similar perspectives? Will they back me in a meeting? And so that in combination with a bunch of other things can create a bit of an imposter syndrome. Shouldn't the quality of our work speak for itself? Yes, and part of our success rests on us making sure people know what we're good at, what value we're bringing to the organization. But if we don't tell them, how will they know? And so, and this is something that a lot of women feel uncomfortable about. We feel like we're showboating. So let's look at what I want to show you today is how you can talk about yourself in a way that feels comfortable, doesn't feel like you're showboating. And importantly, it's learning how we can influence through advocating for ourselves, advocating for others, having others advocate for us when we're not in the room, because they understand what we're trying to achieve and vice versa. And so to do that, we have to demonstrate and speak in a language that connects the value that we bring to the business strategy. We need to advocate for the things that our people do, that our peers do, that add to or help us achieve and deliver on a business strategy. And part of that is being a thinking partner to the people we're in conversation with, whether that's our direct reports, our peers, and even our boss. So when we do that, we become this trusted leader, this trusted advisor. Others will seek us out because they value our perspective, our opinions. We somehow manage to couch things or talk about things in business terms that help people connect the dots. And ultimately, you know, this is how we get stuff done, through our relationships, the strength of our relationships, and it's how we advance our careers. So in this talk, I'm going to share with you the things that we do that derails us very often and stops us from being quite as influential. I'm then going to share with you 3 stories, I think that's all we have time for, of leaders who are in positions of influence, but haven't felt very influential, just so you can get a flavor and see, you know, a little snapshot of what they were dealing with and how they turned the situation around. I'll sum that up at the end, what those strategies were, and then I'm going to leave you with 3 things that you can start doing straight away to turn this imposter syndrome around into a place where you feel confident, you feel influential, you feel your seat at the table is guaranteed, and that you are enjoying actually being in this leadership role. These 5 words: attractiveness, likability, trustworthiness, aggressiveness or how much of a threat we are, and competence. These are the things that we judge people on in the split second. There's some research done about 2005, 2006 at Princeton University, and it said literally in the blink of an eye, we're judging people a little too quickly. So it limits us because it means that we don't make a move closer towards that individual. Here's what I mean. So because we're judging people too soon, we don't have a depth of a relationship with people. We don't have an emotional connection with them. And in turn, that means that because we're not getting to know them, we're developing incomplete or even inaccurate interpretations of their behavior, their intentions, why they say what they say in meetings, whether we can align to them or not. And so what I want to show you through the stories is that this actually doesn't help us. It gets in the way of us being able to reach out to people and connect with them. So let's have a look. These are 6 wonderful women leaders. They, like I said, these are not my clients, but these stories are based on real clients of mine. So here's what we need to know about Anna. She thinks fast, she loves complexity, but very often she'll say things like it's all about the team. The problem was that she didn't back herself, and that came through in a number of ways. She went and had conversations with her peers to understand them a little bit better, but also get feedback. What am I doing well? How do I show up? How am I performing? What do you think I could be doing differently? What value do you think I'm bringing? And so taking her own sense of the value that she was bringing, we worked on developing how she might express that, how she might actually say it, what words she would use. And she took that, combined it with the opinions that she sought out, and started to develop this stronger definition, stronger way of talking about herself. So bringing out her point of view about the value that she brought to the business, but aligning it to the business strategy. So bringing more of that language into it. And so the result of that over time was that she felt in a really strong place to be able to self-advocate. And so she could say quite confidently that, in my experience, this approach really works. And so that helped her step away from this sense that she might be showboating, but actually talk about the value in business terms. The other thing that started to happen for her is that the people that she'd had these conversations with started to advocate for her, whether she was in the room or not in the room. And so because they understood what Anna was trying to achieve, where her value was, there was some alignment between what they were trying to do and achieve for themselves and what Anna wanted. So there were many more opportunities for her peers to do this for her, and then vice versa, Anna was able to do that for others as well. Our next leader, Rose, a brilliant story, again, a case of making an inaccurate interpretation around the people that we're working with, and doing our job to the best of our ability, but not making enough of building those relationships. So here is what you need to know about Rose. She's a grafter. She works really hard. She's a brilliant strategic thinker. And I remember being in the room with her. Within 5 minutes, I was very aware of this sharp mind in front of me. And she loves numbers. She's a numbers person. She's head of finance in her organization. But here's the challenge for Rose. She felt like she was a token Black person in her organization at her level. Made her really uncomfortable. We looked at how she could deepen her relationships with people. So she scheduled one-to-one meetings with function heads and leads, anyone who had a budget that was going to come across her desk at some point in the year. So she made a point of meeting with them. She asked them a lot of questions. She engaged with them about what their function goals were, what they were trying to achieve, understanding their resources, what their plans were. Do they need to hire more people? Do they need more training? What other platforms and so on did they need and were going to be wanting to spend their money on? And through that, she was then able, because she understood them better and got to know them as individuals, and she was able to offer them some financial planning. So actually thinking about their budgets differently. That many people have financial and budgetary control, but don't really understand the full spectrum of it. Really common thing. So that was brilliant. It was really valuable for people to have that perspective from Rose. And for her personally, she went from a place of feeling this stress and anxiety and self-doubt to a place where she knew people trusted her. And the benefit of all those conversations that she invested in was that she was included in the planning earlier. So she felt reassured that people then saw her value, saw what she was great at. So that's Rose. Okay, and our final leader. So here's what we need to know about Nisha. She loves logic, always been drawn to that world. Very technical, very capable. She's in fact the architect of the organization's platform. And she prides herself on her efficiency in her tasks. She's very organized and gets things done. But the challenge for Nisha in meetings is that she comes off as quite indecisive and a little too quiet and not really contributing into the discussions. What's sitting behind that is Nisha's sense that she knows her tech really well, but when it came to strategic planning, involvement, thinking ahead, resources, and culture, she felt a little bit on shaky ground. So here's what we did. Here's what we worked on with Nisha. She, again, had these one-to-one meetings, but this time with her team members, her direct reports, and went through a series of questions with them. Life on the tech side is a lot of delivery and a lot of tight deadlines. And very often we miss the opportunity to actually connect with our people and understand where they're trying to head to. She went through a series of questions, and these are just some examples of the kinds of questions. What do you love doing? What are you struggling with? Where can we improve? People always have some great suggestions. It's just knowing to tap into them and giving them an opportunity to speak. The value of this, Tanisha, was that understanding her people made her feel less lonely. She actually felt, okay, this is a really good bunch of people, and I don't always need to have the answers because they're actually quite capable and competent. And that made her feel calmer. So instantly some of that anxiety is removed. She had some fabulous conversations. Importantly, she gained valuable data about her team overall, what they were capable of, what the capacity was of the team to stretch and do more, or where they needed some additional support. And that fed into her point of view and what she saw for her team and how they might grow. So she became a confident contributor then in those meetings. It's not an overnight thing, but it did give her a line or an approach that made her feel like she had a voice, a very valid voice at the table with her peers during decision making. So I hope I've shown you a little bit about how when we judge too quickly, we actually derail ourselves. We remove the opportunity to get to know someone better. These barriers sort of come up. There's more cortisol or stress in our interactions with people. And because we don't feel that connection with people, it can be harder to go and have a chat with them. which means we end up defaulting to interpreting what may be going on for them. So we want to get rid of this. We don't want this in our dynamics, and it certainly doesn't help us when we're trying to influence. What we do want to do is slow down and notice. We want to create opportunities where we can listen more deeply to people so they feel felt, they feel heard by you. You hold this space for them, and you do this sort of creative alignment, where you understand what they're trying to achieve, and they understand you better. Part of that is learning to ask lots of questions, even when they have a point of view that we maybe don't hold, we feel very strongly about and have a very different point of view. Slowing down and noticing and making time for these conversations creates those connections for us. And it's these connections that allow us to advocate for them, advocate for ourselves, give us a point of view, know that, if I'm not in the room, my peers are going to actually mention me and remind people of the value that I bring, or that the fact that I'm doing something that's relevant, or, you don't have to recreate the wheel. Somebody's already taken care of that. And hey, you should go and talk to them. So 3 things for you to do. Set up those regular one-to-ones with direct reports, with your peers and your boss. They don't have to be long. They can be 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but make them a regular thing so that you do stay in touch. They do know what you are up to, and you know what they're trying to achieve. Because if you start advocating for people, they will start doing it for you. Second thing, use those conversations as a way of developing your own point of view, and start using language that ties what you do to business strategy. Talk in terms of your experience, things that you have delivered, why they worked, what those benefits were, what the draw or attraction was. So, and that helps us stay away from the sense that we may be showboating, because we're talking about the value that we bring rather than how wonderful we are. There's a distinction there. I hope that's obvious. And thirdly, get really good at having better conversations. The quality of our conversations in the main is quite poor, and that comes down to the fact that we're short on time, we're under a great deal of pressure, but we do actually end up inadvertently making our jobs harder because we haven't got the emotional connection with people, because we are making inaccurate interpretations. That means there's so much more room for risk being introduced into a situation, into a program, and so on. And these conversations are a whole host. There's so many different types of conversations we can have, from that light chit chat to just see how people are doing, the check-ins, how's it going, is there anything that you need help with, is everything on track, are you stuck on anything, through to those strategic or tactical conversations where are we on track with everything, where are the dependencies, what needs doing next, who's in charge of what, when will that be delivered, through to the strategic ones. Where do you want to get to? How do you want to grow? What project, where are your skills that we're not using that we could be making better use of? How can I connect you more and involve you more in this project? Those sorts of conversations, all the way through to feedback conversations. And I like to think of feedback conversations as more of they should be creative alignment conversations. It's a lot less confrontational and a lot more about finding the common ground. And if you're interested in that, I have a free download on my website, betterconversations.co. You will find a link to an infographic which is about having feedback conversations. Really helpful. It shows you the form and flow of a conversation. A lot of the conversation techniques and phrases and suggestions in there you can use in all kinds of conversations. So I hope that's been really helpful. I love talking about this. Please do reach out to me. You'll find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you. Or drop me an email, Sehaam@betterconversations.co. I look forward to seeing you in the Q&A. Thank you.